Mercedes' performance at the Japanese Grand Prix last weekend was a huge disappointment to the team. While Hamilton was able to keep up his record of finishing in the top 5 at Suzuka, they were miles off the pace set by Red Bull. What's worse? More often than normal, McLaren are able to outpace Mercedes on merit, as the customer team achieved the team's first double podium of the season. This result has Hamilton worried, as he talked about why his team was so far off pace. So in today's video, let's take a look at Mercedes Japanese Grand Prix, Hamilton's disappointment, and where the team goes from here. McLaren has set a precedent with its rate of car development this season, which has resulted in the team moving closer to Red Bull's design philosophy, both aerodynamically and mechanically. That trajectory has allowed the Woking-based squad to achieve performance gains of over 1 second per lap at representative racetracks. McLaren stared the 2023 campaign on the back foot, having missed key development targets over the 2022 winter break. The MCL60 was officially the 7th fastest car for the first 5 races of the 2023 season. The technical team back at McLaren took their time to work on a different direction and introduced major upgrade packages to lift themselves as the team officially chasing the Red Bulls. The team's last major upgrade package landed at the Singapore race weekend, where Lando Norris was able to finish second. McLaren followed that performance shown in Singapore with a best of the rest performance in Japan, as Norris once again took another P2 finish, while his teammate Oscar Piastri, equipped with the latest batch of upgrades for the first time, rounded out the podium with his maiden podium finish in his Formula One career. Lewis Hamilton of Mercedes indicated that his team need to make such steps in car development, and mentioned that for such steps to be made by his team, they need to fully invest on pursuing a type of concept similar to what Red Bull is dominating with, quoting the uprise in performance of the McLaren cars with the similar concepts in place. The evidence is there at McLaren, and we can't turn a blind eye to that. We've got to look at what they've done and go in that direction, he said. That is the direction, and I truly believe my team can do it. We've always been great at putting downforce on the car. It's just that with the way our car currently works, adding downforce doesn't work. It just makes it bounce more. Hopefully with the change of philosophy, we will be back to where the team deserves. Because this is a world championship team, we still are an amazing team, and I have absolute faith in everyone. The decisions that are made in this period of time are critical for our trajectory. Lewis Hamilton, since resumption of racing after the summer break, has not been comfortable with the W14, mostly during qualifying, as he described driving the car during qualifying as like trying to balance a knife on its tip. While Hamilton at Japan was able to beat his teammate during qualifying, Hamilton was over a second off the pace set by Max Verstappen's Red Bull during Q3. Hamilton was even slower during the practice sessions on Friday, but was able to turn that deficit into a clear advantage over his teammate during qualifying, where he looked to be much more comfortable driving the W14. Yesterday was a nightmare, Hamilton said after qualifying. It was not the kind of balance you want at a track like this. But we did some great work overnight and the car was much nicer to drive today. It's as good a balance as you could possibly get, just massively down on rear downforce. I can't carry anywhere near the speeds these guys can through that first sector. George Russell, after qualifying, called the lap time set by both Hamilton and himself to be a fair representation of the pace the W14 had around Suzuka, and mentioned that the Japanese circuit was a weak track for the W14, considering its speed range. But Russell had a varying comment from his teammate regarding the car's setup choice, as the young Brit mentioned that the team might have actually slowed the car down in a bid to find extra performance. When asked about how difficult the W14 was in qualifying, Russell replied, "It's definitely challenging. There's a sweet spot when it comes to circuits like this. It's very difficult to find. When you're not there, it can be quite far off the pace. Yesterday, I was more competitive. We were much closer yesterday to the rest of the pack than we were today. So definitely taking a step backwards on my side of the garage. We were 2/10 behind second fastest yesterday, and now today we're 7 or 8. The car is always challenging when we have high and low speed corners." The underlying point from both Hamilton and Russell is very clear. On tracks which have lots of high-speed corners, top-end downforce is key, and the W14 is struggling on generating consistent downforce to give the drivers the confidence to attack said high-speed corners by carrying in a lot of speed. Of course, Mercedes already knows this problem and is working on rectifying this problem on its 2024 car to improve the W15's overall characteristics as well as its overall performance. But Suzuka did highlight on just how far off Mercedes are on this segment compared to likes of Red Bull and McLaren. Customer teams outpacing Mercedes has been a trend this season, but to have a gap of nearly half a second to the McLarens, that stings a lot. Anyway, the W14's performance ceiling on tracks like Suzuka just doesn't seem to be that high, and the car's unpredictable nature makes it easy for the drivers to be caught out, and it was George Russell at Japan. The unpredictability problem is a recurring one for Mercedes, and it's defied them since the inception of the current ground effect technical regulations back in 2022. What is happening in the factory just isn't matching with what happens on track. The Silver Arrows don't understand properly how their car works. There seems to be some key piece of data the team is missing when trying to connect the puzzle underneath its car. This is forcing the team to completely rethink their plans for this and next season, as team principal Toto Wolff has admitted that the team has no choice but to bin the W14 when it reaches its limit and solely focus on next year's car. "We will throw this one in the bin when it's really fast and then embark on a new journey," Wolff said to media. Although it has a different designation, the overall philosophy of the car is the same as the W13 ran last year. The car that we put on track in 2022, the bones are the same, Wolff told F1 TV. "We are going around in circles a little bit in how we can improve the car, and it's difficult. We are working on changing those bones for next year, which means we see a lot of potential, but you are also starting in a position where you can't really predict the outcome." Having repeated his opinion throughout the year, implying that the W14 is the exact same as the W13 of 2022 in terms of how the car feels to drive. Hamilton was asked on what he wants from the W15 next year and how much of his input has been taken aboard the development of the W15. Hamilton went on to say, "There are things that I've asked for, that we've gone, in part of the direction for next year," he told Sky Sports F1. "All the points that George and I give, I think, have been fully listened to. I have no idea where the car is going to be next year, but we're a long, long way away. We've got to hope for the next 6 months has to be the greatest 6 months of development that we've ever had to close that gap, to be really banging on the door." The trackside engineering director of Mercedes, Andrew Shovlin, shed some insight on next year's W15, which would provide Hamilton with a much-needed morale boost. Speaking at the Japanese Grand Prix, Mercedes trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin explained the team are working to make sure the W15 has a more consistent baseline. "We're doing a lot of work to try and solve the problems on this car to make sure we don't have them next year," Shovlin said. "We have moved it forward. The car we had previously in 2022 that tended to be an awfully way off in qualifying. It was generally racing a bit better. The performance was very track specific. Some areas we have improved, but the big issue is we're just not quick enough. So we need to find a good chunk of performance to challenge Red Bull in particular. There's lots for us to work on, and a lot of that will be making sure we can give the drivers the confidence that they are lacking at the moment. That's the big area to improve. We have some interesting projects, and hopefully they'll come off." Hamilton has continued to insist that if any team is able to challenge Red Bull for championships, it's Mercedes. With the team owning up to the mistakes the team made during last winter, and with the team taking a new direction for car development for next season, hinted by Andrew Shovlin's words, "Where do you think Mercedes will be next season? Can the Silver Arrows defend second in the Constructors' Championship from Ferrari?" Very much into your thoughts and perspectives in the comments section down below. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads to keep yourselves up to date about the 2023 Formula One season.